Welcome to the Trip Tales podcast with me, Kelsey Graves. Let's jump into a new episode exploring a vacation destination that you'll want all the details about. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 32 of Trip Tales. Today we are going to be hearing all about a family of five's Alaskan adventure, including RVing around Alaska and taking an Alaskan cruise, all with kids. Just a reminder that if you have a great trip or a favorite destination that you think would make a good Trip Tales episode, email me at triptalespodcast@gmail.com and I'll add you to the schedule. Also, the easiest way to show your support for the podcast and give me a pat on the back is to buy me a coffee through my support page, buymeacoffee.com. Every time one comes through, I literally do a happy dance, and it truly helps me keep creating, recording, and feeling the love. And this is a first, but today's buymeacoffee.com supporter is today's guest, Jaycee. So welcome, Jaycee. Thank you so much for being here and for buying me 3 coffees to kick us off.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I start every episode with a rapid fire get to know you. So tell everyone where you live, what you do, and about your family.
Sure. My name is Jaycee. I live in a small town in western Kansas, just right in the heart of the United States. My husband and I have been married for 13 years, and I'm a stay-at-home mom to our 3 boys who were 10, 8, and 4 at the time of our trip.
Amazing. And stay-at-home mom is an actual real full-time job because it is a lot to raise children. It's a lot to raise 1 child. It's a lot to raise 2 children and 3. I'm with you in that boat. And it is just like, there still isn't enough time in the day to do all the things. And you're like, I don't know where the time goes, but
Definitely.
a lot.
Yes.
I have been thinking about and researching an Alaskan cruise for quite some time now, but I have not taken this trip yet. So I have a million questions. You went on this 16-day Alaskan adventure in summer 2024 at the end of June and beginning of July, kind of between those 2 months. And it was your family of 5. And at the time, you already said this, your boys were 10, 8, and 4. The first 9 days of your trip were actually spent RVing in Alaska. And then the last 7 days of your trip were spent on an Alaskan cruise on Princess Cruise Line. So that is a pretty big undertaking between RVing and the cruising with kids. So share with listeners why you decided to book this big trip to Alaska.
We really just wanted to explore a new part of the world and hit the pause button on life and reconnect as a family and get away for a while, get away for a period of time where we could actually step away from work commitments and schedules and activities and just reconnect as a family and get a fresh perspective on life and family.
Amazing.
Yeah. Also, our kids were just at that sweet spot in their ages, like 4 to 10. So they're young enough where everything still felt really magical and exciting, but they're old enough where we could let them roam around and go make friends. And they required very little for traveling. We just had like a foldable car seat that we brought for our 4-year-old. And so that makes travel a lot easier when you're not in that baby stage anymore.
Yes, for anyone listening that has littles, it really gets so much easier and almost so much more exciting when they get a little bit older, because I feel like a whole new world of travel opens up. You definitely can travel, and plenty of people do, to super cool destinations with little kids. But when you're not grabbing strollers, diapers, diaper bags. I mean, I saw a mom the other day at the airport and I was just like, oh my gosh, she had a huge bag on her back, a stroller that was packed to the brim with like all these things. And it's just so much more work. But now we're like planning. I'm like, where should we go? We could go anywhere.
Yeah. So the only thing we had to buy for the trip was we bought a Waby foldable car seat for our 4-year-old. We have done the bag check before, but as much as we were moving around, we just didn't want to lug that big car seat with us. And I would recommend that foldable car seat to anyone traveling with a toddler or preschooler.
I've never heard of a foldable car seat. I used to buy one on Walmart. It was $50. That Costco, it sounds like the store Costco, but it's the brand Cosco. And they have like one of the smallest non-foldable that we would bring on planes sometimes, just because my third was like wild. And if she was in a car seat on a plane, even though we had to buy an extra seat, it made the trip so much better because she felt like she was in a car. But what's this foldable car seat?
It's called a Waby, Wayb. and it's so small that it fits in the overhead compartment of the plane. And it folds up like a little briefcase, and it fit really well in the RV. It was nice to carry onto the cruise ship because we did rent a Turo car when we were in Juneau, so we could take it on and off the ship, and it was just really handy to have.
That is cool. So we'll link that in the show notes because I've never heard about a foldable car seat, but I actually was just talking to someone the other day that's stressing about car seats on a trip. So that would have been really helpful to her. Thank you
And
for
also,
sharing that.
sure, the car seat laws in Alaska are pretty strict. So the shuttles that we took required our 4-year-old to be in a car seat. So I'm glad that we had one for him. And
Oh,
in the RV,
funny.
yeah,
You wouldn't think that, like in Alaska, kind of off the
yeah.
side of the country, that they'd be really strict about car seat laws. I recently did an episode. It was actually episode 28 about RVing around Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons, and I learned a ton in this episode. So, what was your RVing experience up until this point, and how did you guys book that?
We were total newbies to the RV life. We have never taken an RV trip. We don't do a lot of camping as a family. We go to Colorado every once in a while, but we've never camped. We booked through Great Alaskan Holidays, which is a big name in the Anchorage area. A lot of the RVs that you see on the roads are Great Alaskan Holiday. So we booked online with them, and they make the process really easy. You do all of your training online before you get there. When you get to the airport and baggage claim, you call their shuttle and they'll come and pick you up, take you to the RV, take you to their business, and you're on the road in about 30 minutes. You do a little bit of training, you do the walk around to the RV, and you're ready to hit the road.
Had your husband driven an RV before, or this was newbie for both of you?
No, this was new for him. So we had a Class C RV, and it was, I think, 31 foot long. He said it was fairly easy. You just have to get used to that like extra 6 feet at the tail end so you don't swing into things when you're turning, but he didn't have any trouble with it.
That's awesome. I love that they provided online training. I feel like I would just need something to be like, okay, give me a little lesson.
Yeah.
So tell us about getting to Alaska. The one thing I'm still confused about when I look at cruises over there and all the things to do is there's so many different areas. It's hard to like narrow in on what exactly you need to do. So tell us where you flew into and how the travel went getting there.
So we flew out of our little regional airport. So there's 2 flights a day to Denver, but we flew early morning to Denver on United, and then we flew to Seattle, and then Seattle to Anchorage, which were like 3-hour flights each.
So big travel day.
Big travel day. Yeah, we were awake for 20 plus hours that day with the time
Wow.
change and driving and flying.
What were your first impressions of the RV and how did it feel for your family?
The kids loved the RV. They said they still say that is their favorite part of the trip was when they first walked into the RV and they saw their bunk beds and the little dinette table and the loft above the cab. They turned that into their like boy hangout zone. It was all their DVDs were up there and all the snacks that we bought at Costco. They just hoarded everything up there like little rats up there.
So did you stop at a Costco or did you bring stuff with you?
Yeah, so the Great Alaskan Holiday business is maybe 2 or 3 minutes from a Costco. So we got on the road, swung around the block to Costco, provisioned the RV, and then headed north about an hour to Palmer. That was our first stop.
Paint the
Mhm.
picture of what you're seeing here. What was Palmer like?
Palmer, I would describe it more of like a farmland. It looked somewhat similar to Kansas, except there's like gorgeous mountains in the background and but I'd say that's more of their like agricultural area. The state fair grounds were there, but it's just, we spent a lot of time in Colorado, and we thought Alaska might look similar, but it's not at all. It's like Colorado on steroids. It's indescribable, really.
Amazing. So what did you do in Palmer?
In Palmer, we stayed at the Springer, and it is a small family-run RV resort park, and really liked it there. Very, very clean, very large spaces. We decided to stay in Palmer for 2 days just to get our feet wet because most of our trip was down in the Kenai Peninsula, but we didn't want to just jump like head first down to the Kenai because we didn't know, what was down there. If we had trouble with the RV or if we forgot something at the store, we wanted to be able to swing back through Anchorage in a couple days if we needed anything. So that was one of the reasons we spent 2 nights in Palmer. The other reason was we really wanted to visit the reindeer farm that's there. And on our full day in Palmer, that's where we spent a majority of our day.
Oh my gosh, I saw this on your Instagram. It looked so cute. It just made me think. I know it's the middle of summer, but it just made me think of like snow and winter and explain to people what this reindeer farm is.
The handy thing about the RV is that we could drive it to the reindeer farm and we could stay there all day. So we spent the morning in the reindeer farm, went back to the RV and had lunch and took a little nap, and then you can go back out and play all day. So it's just full of animals. It's kind of like a pumpkin patch, but tons of animals. The kids could just play games. There are big bouncy houses or like the bouncy pads, tractor rides, hay bales, everything from like reindeer to reptile houses to llamas, just a lot of good, wholesome fun.
Yeah, it looked really cute. Tell us about evenings in the RV, cooking dinner and sleeping. Did it all go well?
Yeah, so the thing we had to get used to was the light in Alaska. For some reason, like I thought the RV would be dark enough where we could sleep, but there are windows on the top of the RV where the sunshine will come through. So that was hard to get used to. And on our way back to the Kenai, we did stop at Walmart and get eye masks. So that was
So
really
how
helpful.
light was it? Was it staying light like 24 hours?
It was light till past midnight most
Oh,
nights.
wow.
Yeah.
That's hard with kids. I mean, it's hard as adults, definitely, but with kids, I feel like it's even harder because they're used to their like controlled sleep environments.
Yeah, so we were rigging up like blanket curtains and trying to keep out all of the lights. That's something to consider if you're going on an RV trip. Bring your eye masks.
And then what were some of the dinners you cooked?
So I picked up a lot of those prepared meals at Costco that are in the deli section, like the
Smart.
street tacos and the meatloaf, and we did burgers, hot dogs, lots of grilling.
Fun. I love that. Did you do anything else in Palmer?
Um, in Palmer, we did do the Matanuska footbridge. It was like a little bridge that the kids could run across, and you get a good view of the river and the mountains in the background. And we also stopped at Little Dipper ice cream, which was some of the
Cute.
best ice cream we had in Alaska.
Nice. Good to know.
So we left Palmer, went back through Anchorage, spent a few nights in Seward. In Seward, we stayed at the Seward Resurrection Campground, and I believe it's run by the city. You book it online. Spots sell out really fast, is what I'm told, and I'm pretty sure the spots that we got were cancellations because it was pretty late in the year, and we got a spot right on the bay. But it's right in the middle of the town. There is a sidewalk that runs like north and south through Seward. So if you go north of the campground, that's the harbor area. So if you have a fishing tour or a national park tour, that's where you'll go. And then if you go south, that's where the Sea Life Center is. And more of the local area, like the downtown, the Main Street, library. The library is really cute. Like the side of it looks like fish scales. So it's really
Cute.
cute. But the campground is just right in the middle of town and it's very, very walkable.
Nice. Is this the one where you parked right by the ocean?
Yeah, this is the one where we parked right on the bay.
It looked amazing. Like you
Yeah,
wake up and you're like have a water view.
yeah. I mean, we wake up and there's bald eagles in the air. There's sea otters right out on the bay. Like it's really unbelievable. It was beautiful.
It looked incredible. In my research, I had seen that it said this area is where mountains, ice, and ocean meet. And I was like, that's what it looked like in your videos. It looked so
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah. And the kids, they could just like having that waterfront spot, the kids could just go. I mean, they just went and tide pooled and they were just out like just feral children, just exploring things. At one point, they were dissecting a stingray on the beach.
Oh my gosh, you're like,
They-
don't get jabbed or stung.
Yeah, I think it had been dead for a while, but they were living their best little boy life.
This is a theme in my podcast episodes with boy families. The kids and the parents are happiest when the boys just get to play and piddle and be around nature and just be. It is so interesting. This was mentioned in my Big Sky and Yellowstone episode, and more recently, my Nantucket episode. These were all families with boys. And the theme is that when the boys can just be in nature, everyone's the happiest.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so Palmer was more farmland feeling.
Mhm.
And then Seward is more, you're getting closer to the ocean, the bay, the mountains, all that. Is
Yes.
Seward where you kayaked with the
It
sea
is.
otters?
Yes.
Okay, you guys, before she explains this, a lot of people, when they're on the podcast, they will say, hey, go check out my Instagram highlights because all of us save our trips and our highlights and do little reels and stuff. And so I was going through her trip and I like pulled my husband aside and I was like, look at this experience. Okay, explain this kayaking situation and how close you were to these sea otters.
So the second day in Seward, I did a mom's day off. So I went on a little excursion by myself. And I went on a kayak trip with Sunny Cove Kayaking. And they took a group of us probably like a mile south of Seward to, I think it's called Cooper's Landing. And we went on a couple-hour kayak trip. And there were sea otters everywhere. I mean, we got within feet of a sea otter. We were so close that I could hear the otter using the rock on its tummy to break open whatever it was eating. And it was just amazing. Sea otters are my favorite animal, so it was a highlight of the trip for me.
It looked so incredible. She was literally right next to them, and they were like living their best lives, diving and swimming and taking dips and floating on their backs and rolling around in the water playfully, literally right next to her kayak. It's, you know,
Yes.
how happy sea otters look in the zoo, which they're probably not that happy in a zoo, but they just look so happy. This was them in like their natural habitat, and you were just there observing. It looked, oh my gosh, so fun. Also, can we talk about a mom's day off on a vacation? Because I don't know why I've
Yeah.
never thought of this, but this is a new concept to me. And I feel like we should all be doing this.
It does sound silly, doesn't it? Like you're already on vacation. Like, why would you need a day off? But when you're stuck in an RV with three little kids and a husband for 10 days, like
Poor
it gets
boys.
noisy. It gets noisy. And I recharge by being by myself and in the quiet. I just needed a few hours to myself in serenity and in the quiet. And it really did help
Was that
recharge.
planned or did you figure that out once you got out there?
It was planned. We built in a little trip for my husband too. He did a kayak trip on the cruise as an excursion.
Have you guys done this on previous trips or was this a new idea for you guys to kind of do
Um,
your own thing?
we've done something similar, but it usually involves one of the kids. We usually do a date with one of the kids just to get some one-on-one time.
You are giving me so many ideas, whether it's taking time for myself, my husband taking time for himself, or doing one of these dates. I don't know why I've never thought of this. I just always am like, we're all going here and we're all going there, but it does get to be a lot. And that allows everybody to recharge in different ways. So my brain is now spinning for my upcoming trips of how we can work this in. So I love that idea. You also mentioned the, what was it called? The little kind of, I don't want to call it a zoo.
The Alaska Sea Life Center.
The Alaska Sea Life Center. That looked really sweet and like a great way to see some animals up close. And it did seem more of like a rehab center than a traditional zoo. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I don't know if you've ever seen Alaskan Animal Rescue on Disney Plus,
I
but
haven't, but I'm going to watch it now.
yeah, so the Alaska Sea Life Center is one of the places that they go to and they follow the workers and some of the animals that live there. So the boys were very excited to go and they recognize some of the animals and you can really tell how much they care for their animals and just marine life in general. It was a very well-run aquarium.
That is so cool. We have to back up really quick because on your Instagram, I saw that you nicknamed your RV Mini. How did that come to be?
It's a mini Winnie. It's a little Winnebago, so
Oh,
mini Winnie.
cute. I love a nickname, Mini Winnie. Okay,
Yeah.
so in Mini Winnie, while you guys were in Seward, is that how you say it?
Yes.
You saw bald eagles, you saw sea otters, you
Mhm.
went to the Alaskan Sea Life Center to see even more animals. And then it did seem like you guys were sometimes in t-shirts and then also in fleeces and coats. So how did you pack for this trip and how did you know what the weather was going to be like each day?
Oh, it was it was really different every day. I mean, some of the days Seward was the coldest spot we were in. And in Seward we were usually in a jacket. It was rainy and overcast most of the time. And then up in Palmer, it was warm. We were in t-shirts. I'd say the majority of the time we were in a t-shirt with a jacket. Just make sure to pack layers.
Yeah, layers.
And in Seward, we did do a boat tour. So we went on a tour with Kenai Fjords Tours. And there are a couple touring companies in Seward. There's Major Marine and then there's Kenai Fjords. And they both had boats running and looked like great options. But we chose this tour because it was only like 2 or 3 hours and seemed like a good amount of time with kids. And it also stopped on Fox Island, which was south of Seward a ways. But they had like a whole lunch set up for us, a soup and salad lunch. And we got to explore the island a bit, which was really nice and beautiful. And then we got back on the boat after Fox Island and went out and looked for whales.
Did you see
And
any?
we did. We were lucky enough to come upon a pod of humpbacks, and they were bubble nut feeding.
Oh my
So they were
gosh.
just, they work the fish into this big like cyclone, and then they all feed at once.
Wow. It's like, who needs Disney Plus? You guys were right there. That's incredible.
That was amazing.
And this boat tour looked kind of nice. Like from what I saw, it almost looked like spacious train cars with tables and kind of some space to spread out as opposed to like your side by side in an outdoor boat that's like freezing.
Yeah, so there were great indoor and outdoor areas. Inside, you each got your own table. So the family of five, we had our table. And then when we wanted to come inside, we could. If we wanted to go outside and sightsee, we could. At the end of the tour, they brought around fresh baked cookies that they made in the galley. So it was a very nice trip.
Amazing. And a fjord, you guys, technically, it's spelled Fjord, and you guys probably all know this, but you can go on these fjord tours in Alaska or in like on Norwegian cruises. And it's when there's like cliff sides that you're going through on water. So was that like incredible to see?
Absolutely incredible. I'd never seen anything like it. And, at the base of a lot of these, there were sea lions or there were puffins or different species of birds that we'd never seen. It was amazing.
That is incredible.
So when we were finished in Seward, we drove about 2.5 hours to the Soldotna area, and we had a camping spot right on the Kenai River. It was literally in someone's backyard. It's called Kenai Riverfront Resort, and I don't know how I came across this place. It was like a deep dive into a Google search for a Kenai River spot. But it's about a 2-acre backyard plot run by the sweetest couple. It really felt like by the end of the trip, we were family with them. Like it was just like living in their backyard, and they cooked for us. They made us cookies when we left. And when we left, I actually cried because we
Oh,
we formed such a great connection with them and just the sweetest couple.
that is so
But
cool.
when you look at this place, it was a little like, oh, should I go for this or not? Because you have to send in a Google request form, and then they'll email you back to say like, yes, we have a spot or we don't, and then you have to send them a check through snail mail. So it
So it's
was
not a
unlike
traditional booking
it's
system.
it's not. And I was questioning it a bit, like we're just gonna go stay in these people's backyard. Like, oh my gosh, this is
I'm assuming they
questionable.
have some good reviews, though, if it was such a lovely experience for you.
I think they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So their place is right on the Kenai River. So we parked many feet from the river. We would open the door and the river's just right there flowing and the salmon are running, and the river is this gorgeous color of like emerald green. It's so beautiful. And in their backyard, they have volleyball nets set up. They have Nerf guns for the kids. They have soccer goals. All the fishing equipment is already there. They have a fish cleaning station. And if you catch enough fish and want to send them home, they can get that all situated for you. They have life jackets for the kids. They are pretty strict about like make sure your kids have life jackets on at all times if they're above this line, like if they're
Yeah.
this
I
close
mean,
to the
that
water.
seems safe since it's like a rushing river.
Yes, yes, very much. But we fished for salmon, we fished for trout, and the boys just, once again, just had their best living their little boy life.
And is it the couple that runs the place that's taking you out and helping you fish? Hey, Trip Tales listeners. So you all know how much I absolutely love creating content for Trip Tales, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to combine their love for travel and chatting with amazing people? But let's be real. As much fun as this is, travel content creation can be a bit pricey. From flights to hours of editing, while I juggle the chaos of being a mom of 3, it's a wild but awesome ride. But guess what? There's this super cool website called buymeacoffee.com that was made specifically for creators like me and coffee lovers like, well, all of us. You can now support Trip Tales by literally buying me a coffee. Trust me, this busy mom could use a little caffeine boost to keep bringing you all the travel tales and tips you love. Plus, here's the fun part. If you do buy me a coffee, I'll give you a special shout out by name in the next episode. So, if you enjoy the podcast and want to support the show and my grocery bill, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/Kelsey Graves or click the link in the show notes. A huge thank you in advance for considering it and for keeping my coffee cup full and my mic on. All right, now let's dive back into today's episode.
Yes. So their names are Jim and Cindy Nelson. And they're out there most of the day with you, like helping you bait your line, helping the kids fish. They're standing on the dock with our kids, helping them fish while we're drinking a glass of wine. It's really like having grandma and grandpa with you on the trip.
Yes, and then I saw that it looks like some of the stuff you caught, they helped clean and then you guys actually ate it?
Yeah, so they have the fish cleaning station right on the river, and Jim will fillet it for you or show you the first few times, then you can take over. Yeah, they prepared salmon like 3 different ways for us one of the nights.
That is,
And
I
then
mean, I bet your boys just loved that.
they did. And Cindy made a rhubarb cobbler, and then later that night they brought out a guitar and like instruments for the kids, and they were all singing around the campfire.
Wow. So how many spots do they have for people to RV or camp? Like, were there other people there?
Yes. So they do have like a cabin that's connected to their home. So if you don't have an RV, you can stay in their cabin. But as far as RV spots, I'd say like 12,
Okay, well, that's
12
still
to 15.
substantial for someone's own property. Okay, and what is it called again?
It's called Kenai Riverfront Resort.
Okay,
And
we're
they
going to
do
link this
have,
because this
they do,
sounds very unique.
it is. Yeah, it's kind of a hidden gem.
How did you find all these places when you were doing your research and like how did you plan out your order of stops?
Yeah, so it was just a lot of Googling, a lot of research. I order like brochures. So I ordered like town brochures from Seward or from Soldotna. I will have them mail me their visitors guides and I'll look through those. But it's just a lot of computer time, just a lot of Google research time.
Do you enjoy planning a trip?
I love trip planning. Yeah.
Yeah,
I try to
same.
have something on the burner at all times.
Yes, and even if not, it's like, well, let me just like lay this one out and it might not even happen, but if it ever does, I've already done the
I'm
research.
ready. Yeah.
Okay, well, that riverfront fish camp sounds so cool. And I was going to ask if there was a way to stay there if you weren't RVing. So everyone, you can also look up their cabin if the experience sounds amazing to you, but you don't have an RV. Okay, before you head to the cruise, do you do anything else?
So we had to make a stop back in Anchorage to drop off the RV. And we did an overnight in Anchorage before the cruise. We stayed at the Hyatt House because they had laundry facilities and we had so much laundry to do.
I bet. Did you like return your RV or did you
Yeah, this
park
is
it in
kind
the
of
parking lot?
tricky, the return. So we returned the RV to Great Alaskan. We took the Great Alaskan RV shuttle back to the airport, and then we had the Hyatt House shuttle come get us at the airport and take us to the Hyatt House because Ubering as a family of five is difficult, and then we had so much luggage.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to fit in an Uber, so we had to do the shuttle, but it
So yeah,
worked
you
really
just
well.
kind of had to like meander your way back and then you got to the Hyatt House. Well, that's nice. And then you got like a hotel sleep, showers, like longer, hotter showers.
Yes. And my parents actually flew into Anchorage that day and surprised the kids at the hotel.
So
They
fun.
knocked at our door and surprised the kids, and then they joined us for the cruise portion.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Speaking of showers in the hotel, like a nice hot shower, how was showering in the RV specifically for you?
It was fine. Really, we didn't have any trouble with the hot water. We spaced our showers out so we didn't go back to back to back. It's cozy.
Did you or your husband do any of the like tank dumping and refilling in that whole situation?
Oh yeah, he and the boys did all of that. Yeah, they
And
had to dump the gray water, the black water, a couple times during the trip.
okay, and it went fine.
Hmm.
Okay, great. That's my
Most of the
biggest like fear of RV travel.
Just bring disposable gloves. So when you stop at Walmart or provision your RV, make sure you get a box of gloves.
Got it. And now I know so much about RVing because of this one episode I did, which I wouldn't have known before. But so everywhere you guys stopped, did you have hookups and everything? So you were able to hook everything up?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. So most of them were just electric and water. I think we had one that was also sewer.
Okay.
But if they don't have a sewer hookup, they do have a dump station. So you just dump on your way out.
Now that you guys have done this RV trip, will you be RVing again in the future, do you think?
Definitely. That's the trip I have in the works right now. I went to do a Western United States RV trip, like Moab,
Amazing.
Bryce, and Arches.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. So you guys stay a night at the Hyatt House in Anchorage. Your
Mhm.
parents surprise the kids, and they're going on the cruise as well.
Mhm.
And so you guys chose a princess cruise. How did you choose the Alaskan cruise line? Because I've been researching these, and the things I'm running into are there's a lot of choices and I can't figure out which one would be best. It also feels like the Disney cruise is like 4 times the price as the others, which I'm like, who's going to spend $20,000 on a cruise? And then it seems like sleeping five is really complicated on these Alaskan cruises. So how did you pick your cruise line?
It was really difficult because you're right. There are very few, if any, cruise lines that fit five besides Disney. And we've cruised Disney a few times, but it just didn't seem right for Alaska. Like they didn't go to the ports that we were really excited to go to. And Princess just seems like the gold standard in Alaska. Like they have the best port spots. They get to stay in port the longest, from what I could tell. Like in Ketchikan, some of the cruise lines were miles away from the downtown port area, and they'd have to shuttle in. And it just seemed like Princess had was like the spot. And it also they get to go to Glacier Bay National Park, and that was really important for us to visit Glacier Bay.
Amazing. You're in Anchorage, and how do you transfer to where's the port?
So the port is in Whittier, which is about an hour from Anchorage. So
Okay.
you do have to have a shuttle. You can take the train, which would be beautiful. I think you can get on it right at the airport, but it was sold out. So we booked a transfer through Pacific Alaska Tours, and they picked us up at our hotel at the Hyatt House. They also pick up across the street at like the Fairfield and another hotel. But they picked us up. And the reason we chose Pacific Alaska is because they stopped at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, which is maybe 45 minutes from Anchorage. So we got to stop and grab a little bit of lunch for the kids and see all the animals that they have there. And that location is also featured on Alaskan Animal Rescue.
Okay, perfect. So if we ever are going to take this trip, we need to watch Alaskan Animal Rescue on Disney Plus before to get
Yes.
everybody ready. What types of animals were at this stop?
The boys mostly focused on the bears, wolves.
Cool.
Yeah, things we were glad we did not see in the
Yeah,
wild,
and
but
yeah,
we still wanted to see them.
very cool. Well, that's awesome to have a transfer that has a little excursion built into it.
hmm
So then you get to Whittier, which is the port, and tell us about boarding the Princess Cruise ship and what the ship and your rooms were like.
So boarding was very simple. We got off the shuttle, threw our luggage in this big bin, and waited just a little bit and in line and got on the ship. The ship was gorgeous. Very, very beautiful. Big staircase in the middle, fountains.
Awesome. And then how was your room?
The rooms were great. We ended up booking two connecting balcony rooms. And on the ship, there are not very many connecting rooms. So I looked at the ship layout on Costco, I think it was, and there were two connecting rooms left. So I booked those. And it worked really well. We had a king bed in one, and then on the other side, we slept the kids in a king bed and then the pull-out couch.
And that was just for you guys. That didn't include your parents.
Right. They were in a different room.
Okay, so you booked two connecting rooms for your family.
Right.
That's where I'm running into issues looking at Alaska because I'm just like, "Ugh," and I love my children and I love my family of five so much I wouldn't change a thing, but I'm always like, this doubles the price of the trip.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, it's so tricky. Okay, so let's go through the places you stopped.
Our first stop was Hubbard Glacier.
Did you get off at Hubbard Glacier or you just go by it?
No, you just go by it.
And are they making announcements during this? So they're like, hey, go look at this right now.
Yeah, so especially on the Glacier Bay National Park Day, they make a whole day out of it. They bring a ranger onto the ship and you can hear them throughout the ship. So we sat on the aft, like deck 16, I think it was, and just spent the whole day there. We pulled up chairs and got close to the bar and just kept the drinks coming. And
Yeah.
the kids they have their own junior ranger program throughout the day. So they got they got to spend the day like earning their junior ranger badges and doing their workbooks. And so they were plenty
Cool.
busy. But yeah, you can hear throughout the ship where we are, what glacier it is. And you do not have, a lot of people go towards the front of the ship and it's packed. It's too busy for my liking. So we stayed on the back and the ship turns. So you never miss a view.
So as you're approaching Hubbard Glacier or something that everybody wants to see, the ship actually does like a full 360. So no matter what, you can stay put, relax, and you're going to see it.
Right.
Okay, cool. And as you're approaching this stuff, and you were saying your kids were earning their junior ranger badges, are they with you at that moment or they're off doing their own thing, kind of like in a kids club with the kids ranger people?
Yeah, they're in the kids club with the Rangers.
Cool. And were
Yeah.
they with their ages, were they all able to be together?
I think for that day they do. Sometimes they intermingle the ages. It's not as strict as like the Disney Kids clubs where there's a hard cutoff with the ages. Like the rooms connect, so sometimes they'll let them interact. And I think on that specific day they did.
Okay, cool. And then before we head to Glacier Bay National Park, are the meals? So we're going on our first Disney cruise literally in a few days. I'm so excited. We're our first cruise ever. I've been on one Royal Caribbean as a child, but our first family cruise, 4 night Bahamas. Everybody's just so pumped to like get out of the country and do a quick little cruise. So I'm kind of in Disney cruise mode right now where they're like telling us where we're going to eat every single night, which I am here for. I am like, tell me, I'm just going to sit here and we're just going to follow the schedule. But what does dinners look like on the Princess Cruise? Are they telling you where to eat? Is there optional meals that you're paying extra for?
So it's very flexible. So you can set your preferred dining time every night and you can eat at the same table, at the same restaurant at the same time, or you can be really flexible and you can reserve spots, throughout the day. If you want to change your dining time, you can, or if you want to change your location, you can, if there's availability, of course. There's also restaurants that you can pay to visit. We didn't experience any of those, but there were like two or three different restaurants, like a Italian, a steakhouse. But overall, the food in the main dining rooms was great. The main dining rooms were included in your price.
But the others, when you say the Italian and the steakhouse, those are the ones you could pay extra for to have like a nicer experience or whatever.
Correct. Or when you book your cruise fare, you can book like a different tier
Mm,
where those will be included, or like one visit to those restaurants will be included.
okay, got it. All right. So then you head to Glacier Bay National Park, and do you get off the ship here?
Most people do not, but there is one excursion where you can. They'll bring a little ship or a little boat up to the cruise ship, and a handful of people got off and got to get really up close to the glaciers.
So I know I'm asking so many questions, but I haven't really done all my research on these trips yet. For an Alaskan cruise, is most of it just to see everything from the ship and go by it, as opposed to some of these other cruises where the point is to like get off at all the ports and islands?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are did you guys stay on the ship the whole time?
We got off in some of the cities.
Okay. Okay. So you can get off, but
Mhm.
when you're looking at the glaciers and stuff, that
Right.
is from the ship.
Yes.
What was it like seeing glaciers up close?
It was amazing. Like we'd never seen a glacier, obviously. So they're so blue. I didn't realize like how bright blue they are.
Oh, I didn't realize that either. I was picturing white.
No, they're really bright blue, and you see chunks of them floating in the water and otters around, more otters, like little rafts of otters everywhere, and lots of wildlife in Glacier Bay National Park.
Amazing. Okay, where'd you guys go next?
So the next day we went to Icy Strait Point, and
What is this?
it's it's not really a town. It's just it's not a private island, but it has those private island feels. Lots of activities. You can zip line, you can take the gondola, you can do a lot of those type of activities.
So kind of
But
like an adventure hub.
yeah, it's like an adventure hub. That's where my husband kayaked. There is a small town called Huna, a mile or so south of the port, and a lot of people walk. And there's a fish cannery there, so people do visit that. I think there's a brewery there too. But what we did, we spent most of the day tide pooling. And this was the best tide pooling we have ever seen. The beach was covered in starfish, like it truly was. They were just starfish plastered everywhere.
Wow.
Starfish and crabs and eels. The boys just had a heyday. They loved it.
That sounds incredible. So while you guys are doing that and your boys are just playing, your husband went on his own kayak excursion.
Yes. Yep. So
How
I
was
had the
that
boys
for
for the
him?
morning. He had a great time. Yeah, they got to go on like a couple caves, and I think it rained on him towards the end, but he had a great time.
Super cool. Okay, so then you guys get back on the ship, and where are you guys off to next?
The next step was Juneau.
Okay, and that's the capital, right?
It is. So in Juneau, one of the main places to go in Juneau is the Mendenhall Glacier. And you can get there a variety of ways. You can take shuttles, you can arrange it through the ship, but we rented a Turo car and it was dropped off really just right in front of the ship in a parking garage, and we took that for the day up to Mendenhall Glacier. And the boys got their junior ranger badges, and we got to go on a little hike and see the glacier, and it was a really neat trip.
Cool. So when you stop in Juneau, you have to kind of travel to get to this glacier.
Yes. 15, 20 minutes outside of downtown Juneau.
Okay, nice. Did you spend any time in downtown Juneau, or does that just feel like a big Alaskan city?
Yeah, it just feels like more of a touristy area. There are a lot of ships in port during the summers in Juneau and in Ketchikan, so there are a ton of people.
And when
But
you're visiting these different glaciers, we've named a few now. Do they all look the same or do they look different from each other?
they do look a little bit different. Some of them are really dirty, like some of them are black, and some of them are bright blue. Some of them are a lot taller or a lot wider. So they do look a little different.
And then when you're off on this full day kind of excursion, what do you guys do for food?
I think we ate breakfast on the ship and just brought snacks with us off the ship. And I think we were back in time for lunch.
Oh, cool. So it's like
So,
a easy morning excursion.
yeah, the Juneau one was. In Ketchikan, we did eat outside of the ship, though.
Is that the next stop?
Yes, that was the next day.
Okay, tell us about getting there.
Yes. In Ketchikan, one of the big attractions is Creek Street, and you can usually see fish running through Creek Street, and it was a hike up there from the port, couple blocks. It wasn't bad, but I wouldn't need to visit it again, honestly. Like with the kids, it was just a lot of walking and a lot of people, and there weren't a ton of stores or restaurants or anything up there. The thing we did visit was the Southeast Alaska Discovery Center, and I would recommend visiting that, especially if you're going with kids. They got to earn another badge. I think it was the Tongass National Forest badge. And I think it's a $5 entry fee, but you can go in and out throughout the day. So if you need restrooms when you're in downtown Ketchikan, or if you just need to rest your legs or relax for a bit, it's a great spot to spend the day.
Yeah, good to know.
Also in Ketchikan, we did the lumberjack show.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So the kids liked that. It's a competition between like the US and Canada, and they do a bunch of different lumberjack tricks, and it was fun.
Is that indoors or outdoors?
It's outdoors.
Okay, fun. And kind of like a touristy attraction where it's like the show's running all day long.
Very much. Very,
Yeah,
very touristy. The kids
fun.
got a kick out of it though.
Um, on these days, were there any days where you're just sailing or each day had a destination on this Alaskan cruise?
I think we had 2 days at sea. The Hubbard Glacier day I would count as a sea day,
Yeah.
because you do pass Hubbard Glacier, but it's more of an at sea day. And then between Ketchikan and Vancouver is a sea day, because
Okay.
you have some ground to cover there.
So what did you guys do on these sea days? What types of activities were there on the ship for you guys to get into?
There's quite a few different activities. The sea day, when we were there, was a Guinness Book of World Records party. So it was the world's largest pizza party. So we got to participate in that.
Oh, funny. They were trying to break the record and then everybody on the ship was just a part of it.
Yes. So
Hilarious.
we're part of that now.
I feel like my 9-year-old boy would think that's so cool.
The kids did like it. They thought that was pretty neat. But the kids were in and out of the kids club. We spent a lot of time at the pool, on the pool deck.
And was it warm enough to relax by the pool?
It was, especially the Glacier Bay day. The kids were in the pool, and you'd have the glaciers and the mountains in the
Wow,
background.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So a lot of time on the pool deck. There's activities throughout the ship. Lots of nature talks. There's a naturalist on the ship who's very informative. We went to a few of his shows. Yeah, you'll find something to do.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So then you spend a sea day going to Vancouver. So this is a one-way cruise. You get on in Alaska and then you get off in Vancouver, which is kind of cool.
Correct. Yeah.
Did you guys do anything in Vancouver? I've really wanted to visit there for the longest time.
We did not. We had an 11:25 flight. So it was fairly early. And a lot of people say, like, don't book anything earlier than noon. But we got to the airport in plenty of time. Like, we had an hour where we just sat at our gate. So I wouldn't be scared of booking anything earlier than noon. Oh, we did take the Sky Train from the cruise terminal to YVR, which is the airport. And we got off the ship, had to walk half a block to the waterfront station. And it's like a subway. We just took that all the way to the airport. And that was really handy with the kids.
Nice. I'm impressed with the amount of adventuring you guys did on this trip. By the end of these 16 days, were you wiped and ready to go home, or could you have kept going?
I think we could have kept going. It did cross our mind to get into Seattle and then do like an RV trip through there, like the coast and down to Tillamook and over to Portland. But that's for another day.
Yes. Alaska has so much to see and do. If you had to pick like your top highlight moments or places that you would say are a must see, what would be your favorite places?
My favorite place was definitely Seward. I could spend the whole summer there. It's just beautiful, and I like being near the water.
Amazing. Okay, Jaycee, I end every episode with, if someone out there is considering a trip to Alaska, what is it about exploring via RV and by cruise ship that would make you say, just book it?
It's hard to capture into words just how majestic and peaceful Alaska really is. Like the photos and videos that you see online do not do it justice. There were moments during our trip, especially in Seward, where it just felt like the ends of the earth. Like it's just quiet and peaceful, and the natural beauty and the sense of peace that we felt is just indescribable. So if you're looking to unplug from your daily routine, if you want to slow down and reconnect from your family and have some amazing adventures, I definitely recommend adding Alaska to your travel list.
I love it. I want to do all those things. So it's on my travel list. Do you think summer is the best time to go? Or like, does it get quite cold if you're not going in the summertime?
I think summer's the best time, especially mainland. If I was to do a cruise again, I might go on the shoulder season just because July was really, really busy.
Hmm.
So I might do like a May or an August, September.
Okay. Good to know. Well, thank you so much for being here and for all of this amazing knowledge.
All right. Thanks for having me.
That wraps up another episode of Trip Tales. If you have a trip you'd like to share about on the podcast, email me at triptalespodcast@gmail.com and I'll add you to the schedule. Also, be sure to follow the show so that you don't miss any upcoming vacation destinations. And if you have an extra minute in your day, please leave a review for the podcast. It helps more than you could imagine. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode of Trip Tales.